Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. This is quite an important video, so make sure to tune in. I just wanted to spread some serious awareness of a serious problem which is currently ongoing when it comes to me. Unfortunately, once again, slanderous claims have been aimed my way by an individual. It's very unfortunate, especially when it comes down to it being a different case. This individual has taken it upon themselves to move from one case to another and spread negative, false comments in hopes that other people out there will believe in it, so then it discredits me and paints a bad picture. All the whilst I'm simply trying to cover cases, to spread awareness, to keep them alive and make sense of them. And then I've got to take some time out to deal with this, just to set the record straight, just like how I've done all the other times. It's the formal procedure. So I appreciate your patience. Without further ado, I'm going to present to you the comments first, the newest one, the previous ones, and then I'll give you the backstory behind why this all kicked off. So make sure to listen in. What you see on screen is the latest comment by the problematic individual, posted roughly 3 hours ago on my video titled Mystery of Noah Presgrove's Clothing Full Analysis. Take in mind, this individual called Lolly, that appears to be a female based off their username, but more so their profile picture, which looks like some kind of AR-generated character of a female, which could represent them. You never know though. Actually came from the Jay Slater case, or at least I came across them the very first time on the Jay Slater missing person case. More about that later for the backstory. But this person has taken it upon themselves to leave a similar comment on a different case, a different video of mine, in hopes of, I guess, damaging my credibility. So at the time when I was covering this video about Noah, it was quite a serious and possibly sensitive subject to some, making sense as to why Noah Presgrove's brutally beaten body ended up at the highway, possibly dumped or not, the state he was in, the clothing more so, or certain areas, items lacking or missing, and where they may have ended up being. I was just sharing my thoughts on the matter, trying to make sense of it, and at the time, when it was on the live premiere, there was a range of people watching, all positive, helpful discussions, key questions asked. People were acting appropriately. It was all good and positive to see. Shout out to those individuals at the time. What did Lolly contribute, though, to the discussion about such an important case? Well, Lolly states that the guy who owns this channel, which is basically me, WarLike Wrath, the guy who owns this channel stalks your account if you don't agree with something he says. Then, WarLike Wrath will delete your comments and blame the algorithm. WarLike Wrath is also condescending, and he'll say you are slandering him rather than admitting he was wrong, because he has a fragile ego. Also, he talks like he's from the Middle Ages. So, very interesting. You, as a viewer, an audience member, a witness, whether you know me or not, whether you've been around a long time or not, you can share your own individual experiences and comments and thoughts down below to whether you agree with this comment or not. Do you believe that what Lolly states here is the truth, or is it incorrect? You can share all your thoughts down below. It doesn't matter, no pressure. But what I want to do right now is just give my own thoughts and analysis, just to make sense of these statements, because it is interesting, okay? So Lolly says that WarLike Wrath will stalk people's accounts on YouTube if you don't agree with something he's talking about. So when it comes to other videos where I'm getting thousands of views and some where I've got over 160,000 and a portion have, don't see eye to eye with me, I'm going to be looking through thousands of accounts and stalking them. For what reason and what end goal? That's not been provided by Lolly, nor has any full-on evidence or proof of stalking. And as we know, when it comes to stalking in real life or online, it's quite a serious allegation, and it can lead to all kinds of trouble escalating from there, depending who's at fault. As said, Lolly doesn't provide any hard, solid evidence of stalking taking place. And taking consideration when it comes to YouTube, it's not exactly an account, it's a channel, a YouTube channel. You've got an account in the background which then sets up your channel. There's no stalking on accounts, but you could argue and say there's stalking on channels. But end of the day, YouTube channels, every single one out there is publicly in the domain. It's all publicly viewable, with the exception of videos. A person's profile to a person's username, a person's playlist, if they choose to have it public, even the about section and bio of their channels can all be publicly viewable and accessed by anyone and everyone, with the exceptions of videos and possibly playlist. You know, if the playlist or playlist was set private, then you wouldn't be able to see it, okay? When it comes to Lolly's channel, her playlist is publicly viewable. Now, you could argue and say, well, how would you know? Because at the time of when there was this trouble going on elsewhere in that past discussion, I did briefly check their publicly viewable channel to see whether they had content on their channel or not. And it just so happened that they didn't, okay? So I brought that up in the conversation back then. Now, why would I? Basically, based off my language and wording, as some of you have seen with time, if I'm covering a case or talking about stuff, and then a human suddenly appears out of the woodwork with a level of resistance or negativity or complaining, whinging or whining, and I can see it in their tone of voice or more so their text, I may respond back with, are you in a position to be talking? Or something along the lines of, you know, you do a lot of talking, but it's not exactly backed up on your channel. You got a default profile or you got a default name. You may have a default channel with absolutely zero content on the case at hand. So are you in a position to be talking, right? You would have seen that yourself. If they know so much about something, or if they're an expert, then why don't they do it themselves? It's kind of like the equivalent of other humans out there that complain and say, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. And you can respond back and say, well, if you think you can do it better, then prove it. Do it yourself. Do a video on your channel. And they never do. So they have a default channel, a default profile. That's what I referred to, okay? So the same applied here with Lolly when it came to the Jay Slater case, etc. And Lolly's response at the time was along the lines roughly, hey, I actually have videos on my channel. They're just set to private. Okay, fair enough. But I wouldn't know, would I? Because they're not publicly viewable. So when it comes to stalking a publicly viewable profile and making an observation that there is zero content on that channel because there's nothing there, it's not exactly stalking. It's not going round the back door. It's not peeping through. It's not looking into someone's account and noticing that videos are there, because they're not. Because to the public eye, and anyone else would say it, that there are zero videos on that person's channel. Publicly, there are zero videos. They may have private ones, but they're private. No one can see them, only the channel. So there's no stalking taking place there, and especially no stalking in a public place on a publicly accessible and publicly viewable profile. Okay, so false claims have already been made about stalking. And in terms of the condition that WarLike Wrath only stalks people who disagree with something he says, interesting. So you're telling me that when you look back at other videos where there's about 160,000 views on my channel and a fair portion may disagree with something, that I'm going to go through hundreds and thousands of accounts just to stalk them? I don't think so. You haven't got any proof of that, have you? And in addition, Lolly fails to explain or elaborate on the stalking as for the goal or the end aim, the end goal of it. What's the point? What does it lead to? No explanation has been given, just like I'd have got no proof of it. It's just been made up on the spot. Okay, so the next statement made by Lolly claiming that WarLike Wrath will delete your comments and blame the algorithm. I mean, if you do a bit of research, Lolly, there are other channels out there, even like Michelle After Dark, who also covered the Jay Slater case, where comments have been deleted. Some of her audience members rushed to her and said, "Why are you deleting me? Why are you censoring me?" And Michelle said, "Because of YouTube. Got no control over it." Just like how it is on my channel, just like how it is on other channels. See, that's the difference between you, Lolly, and other channels out there that are more established than you. You're not going to understand. You're not going to know what it's like to be an actual content creator because you're not a proper content creator yourself. Therefore, you're not going to experience the same issues that we face. So you've got a lot of learning to do there, and you need to do a lot more research. Okay, Lolly? So yes, it's happened with other channels out there. I've had discussions with other channels out there, even some which have over 400,000 subscribers and more. So yeah, I do have contacts in the background, and I've reached out to people regarding issues, and it has been acknowledged, just like audience members. There's a variety of audience members on my channel that actually have reasoning ability and don't just jump to the conclusion of, oh, it's because of you, WarLike Wrath, deleting my comments. No, people actually think for themselves and consider YouTube being at fault. What you don't understand, Lolly, even though I explained it to you already, but I can only tell you so many times, I can't make you learn it yourself. You got to do it yourself, basically. But when it comes to my comments, I've posted them elsewhere to do with a case, spreading awareness on very serious points and evidence found to prove something or to suggest. I've ended up finding that the comment was deleted seconds later. Did I go in a huff and puff and leave a comment calling out the channel, saying, "You're deleting my comments"? No. The thing that came to my mind was probably YouTube. Just like how YouTube deletes people's comments if they provide a URL link. It can be hit and miss. Sometimes people can leave very negative comments, just like yourself, Lolly, and your comments remain up. But then other people can leave positive comments, helpful ones, discussion-based ones, and they end up disappearing because of YouTube. Automated system, bots, keywords picked out and comments deleted. It's weird. But take in mind that when it comes to my channel, at times I've left comments on my own channel and they've been deleted. How ridiculous is that? But I did try explaining this to Lolly. She was having none of it at the time and looked past it, and still is very determined and believes that I delete people's comments. But once again, Lolly, where is your proof of comments being deleted specifically by me? Okay? I've seen all the notifications. They've all come through based off your comments, and they're all still there. As I said, one correlation that I noticed was when comments are just deleted just like that, I tend not to get a notification, right? But I have received notifications from most, if not all, of your comments, and therefore they've not been deleted because I've seen them, I've viewed them, and responded to them. If they are deleted after that point, then it must be YouTube, some automated system, or it happens immediately. But you know, at least to my knowledge, I've seen all the comments that have been put out there and all the notifications, and all those notifications still remain up. So Lolly doesn't have the hard evidence or proof that her comments have been deleted specifically by me. And that can apply to other people out there that make false claims about me deleting people's comments on my own channel. You have no proof. You have no evidence. If a person's comment is deleted, it could well be because of YouTube, right? As I said. But you know, people are going to say, no, it's WarLike Wrath. Where's your proof? Where's your visual or hard evidence of me directly deleting a comment? There's none. Because there isn't. Okay? But clearly, they're not having it here. And it's not to do with blaming the algorithm. The algorithm is its own thing. We're talking about YouTube as a whole, as a platform with censoring. You know, there's channels out there that can't even say certain words or lines, even on cases or crimes committed, because if they say the R word, do the, you know, inappropriate behavior where a person forces themselves onto someone else. If you say that word, you could get shut down by YouTube. Or you're talking about SA, something assault, right? Things like that. People have to bleep it out or censor what they say. So you can see how intense it can be, but you know, Lolly just doesn't acknowledge that. It's very unfortunate. Lolly says that WarLike Wrath is condescending. Now, How do I defend myself against that? I can't really, because if I did, it could come across as biased, but the best way around it is for the general public to share their thoughts on that. Do the general public, the viewers on my channel, think that I'm condescending or not? Okay? Anything else? He'll say that you're slandering him rather than admitting he was wrong. But how often am I wrong? You take in mind those predictions that I made with time, 99.9% accuracy, right? In terms of general discussions and conversations, if it's an opinion, if it's an idea, if it's maybe an observation, it can differ, right? You could be wrong, or you might not be completely wrong, but right or wrong, I mean, where are we coming from here to begin with? Wrong about what exactly? Once again, Lolly doesn't elaborate or make it clear to know what was wrong or what the person was wrong about. So it's kind of holds no substance there, right? To say, oh, you're slandering him, well, that's true, because you're making a lot of claims and statements without any evidence backed up behind it. So it is slander. And your language and wording shows it. See, this is the thing. In recent time, a person threatened legal action against me by saying, WarLike Wrath, you're slanderers, you're slandering my name, etc., etc. At the end of the day, I used very specific language and wording. Now, at one point did I say that they were responsible, not in the title, not in the thumbnail, not even in the description. Their face, their name wasn't even shown in it. I just simply was looking at the conversations going about and trying to make sense of the matter. Language and wording goes a long way. If you use it incorrectly, it can be seen as slander, defamation of character. And that's what Lolly has presented herself. These comments have come up time and time again. Lolly is breaking YouTube TOS. It's not a good look, is it? The last bit mentioned by Lolly is that WarLike Wrath has a fragile ego and that he talks like he's from the Middle Ages. How exactly does one talk like from the Middle Ages? Because I'm not exactly using Old English language, and I'm not using any other language from back then, unless it's Lolly is referring to the mentality or my mindset on the matter. But me personally, I'm not aware of that. I mean, do you have proof that I'm from the Middle Ages, that I talk from the Middle Ages? Any proof and evidence? I don't see any. All I would say is an observation that there's a small possibility and chance that when it came to the Middle Ages, people had better, I don't know, manners in certain areas with certain individuals, and maybe back then certain individuals had better class compared to nowadays, and like how, people dress. They can differ with time. But there's some weird mentions here. Now, a person did like her comment, whether that be someone else or herself, you never know. But let's just move on. This is 2 weeks ago, so you take in consideration how long it's been going on for, and this was where it mainly started from, the TikTok star in danger while searching for Jay Slater. And Lolly says, the guy who runs this channel stalks pages and insults you if you don't agree with him. By the way, he'll also delete your comments instead of answer them because he has fragile ego. He just said, I'm making slanderous claims, and deleted my comment yet again. I never deleted your comment though. You have no proof of that. You just proved me right. Again, you should take your own advice. It's not a good look. It's all in his comment section. Also, impetuous one. Okay. So, Lolly is attempting to appear a little bit quirky with the usage of degenerative emojis and the intelligent emoji. I don't know if that's because they're trying to convince themselves that they are or not. Trying to use some high-level language against me, but, we're talking about impetuous behaviour. This whole situation, or this one earlier comment what we looked at, is a massive microcosm. That's an understatement, to be honest. It's just a microcosm of the overall issue at hand. Poor language and wording by Lolly, claiming a lot, talking a lot, but not backing it up with hard evidence and proof. Say comments are deleted. Well, I see enough of your comments still up publicly, all negative, slanderous claims, and yet I'm keeping them up in the public eye so other people can see it. Is that not good enough? No? So, roughly, this is similar to what's mentioned here. Has it been directly copied and pasted? Maybe not, but, you know, the same message on, what do you call it? It's like a repetitive tone, a broken record, right? Interesting. So what else was there to add on here? Take your own advice. It's not a good look. It's just the same old, once again. What's this? Not slanderous claims. It's all on your comment section. You got the language and wording wrong there, Lolly. It's not on your comment section. It's in your comment section. Okay, get it right. Other than the ones you removed, even though you have no proof or evidence of me removing them, try again. You say, try taking your own advice and stop being a condescending smart arse. It's not a good look. I mean, we can talk about looks, but you're hiding your own identity behind an AR-generated character. What a coward. Cowardly behaviour, same with the username. You know, you keep digging yourself into a hole, keep talking and being a statistic. That seems to be the pattern what I'm seeing here. Calling one a smart arse. I mean, if we're talking about IQ levels, I might have an IQ of 116. It is why it is. It happened. It wasn't always 116. In the past, it was around 99 or so. But the moment I got involved in cases, mysteries, missing person cases, true crime, with that level of reasoning ability, understanding it from multiple perspectives and understandings, it came to the point where the IQ went from 99 to 116. Now, I don't know what it could be now, but nevertheless, it went up. Positive correlation to getting a better understanding, more critical thinking, reasoning ability, and much more deeper when looking at actual cases in an educational way or in other ways too. So there's been positive growth there. As for yourself, Lolly, I can't really comment on that, but, you know, you talk a lot, but you don't back it up with hard evidence. You just say, well, it's in the comment section anyway, or it's been removed anyway. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough, okay? So they are a bit of a broken record, going round and round, using emojis, trying to face palm as well. Lolly says, not slanderous if it's true. It can only be true if there's evidence to reinforce it, and you don't have any, so it's a bit silly, isn't it? But then again, there is always times where there could be fake evidence, or it's been staged, been altered with, to make it seem like proof and evidence. It could still be called slanderous if it turns out to be actually false evidence. So there's always that way around. But anyway, Lolly says, nah, you are removing them. How am I removing comments? Do you have proof of me actually deleting them? Okay, comments disappear. And YouTube can be responsible for it. I've been on the receiving end of it as well, so I understand. How come you can't? Lolly says, I don't have that problem with any other content creators on YouTube. So you're basing it off your own individual experience and generalizing it to the public. Well, that's really clever of you not. There are countless people on my channel that have commented on my videos and they've been okay. Then they've commented elsewhere and they've been deleted across different channels. Why? Because of YouTube. Then there's been another handful of people that have commented on my videos, have had issues of comments disappearing, then gone elsewhere, may or may not have had comments deleted as well. You know, you can't just be generalizing it based off your own individual experience. That's not how it works in life, Lolly. Okay, you still got a lot of learning to do. Anyway, Lolly says, calling me impetuous one that hasn't learned or improved, you are condescending. But at the end of the day, all one is doing is making a valid observational point. you have not learnt, you have not understood from a different perspective or an alternative mind, you're still stuck with your own mindset and you're not taking into consideration other points of views and possibilities. You're set in your ways like it's set in stone. You've not provided any evidence, not enough either, to back certain points of what you claim, which are the truth, even though the truth doesn't hold strong because there's no evidence to support it. You haven't learnt. I've explained the situation with YouTube. You're not a content creator completely, are you? Because you've got no videos on your channel publicly. You might have videos privately, but what good does that do exactly? Doesn't do much. So, Lolly, you're not going to know or understand the same things what actual content creators go through on YouTube, whether it be at the hands of YouTube themselves or the audience, just like I'm on the receiving end of your comments as one of the audience members. Okay? Lolly says, you are condescending, obviously think you are better than me. I don't think or feel that I'm better than you because I don't really have a clue who you are. Okay? You might be stronger than me mentally, or maybe more so physically. You might be faster than me. You might be healthier than me. You might be, I don't know what else, to be honest, but I don't really think that far ahead, okay? All I'm pointing out is simply defending myself and making observations as we go along, because I do have certain experience in certain fields and encounters, and I'm just sharing with you what I'm aware of, and you're not taking it into consideration. That's disappointment, right? Lolly says, you have a superiority complex, and you can't take any kind of criticism. Now, not to do with the superiority complex, but more so taking criticism. There have been a couple of people here and there in the past before Lolly that have stated that as well, that WarLike Wrath can't take criticism. Interesting. But it all comes down to how people present themselves in the first place, right? Criticism. How is it worded, the criticism? Is it worded in a normal way, an understanding way, or is there a bit of a tone of sharpness to it? If people are going to ask questions, if you can answer them, you'll do so. If people are going to demand answers to their questions in a rude way, how you respond back may differ to an extent, right? It all comes down to language and wording, okay? And taking in mind criticism, where it's due, where it's respected, where it's valid, it all comes down to the person at hand that's giving out the criticism and the, from their understanding, are they in a position to be talking, right? It comes down to that once again. Yes, you can argue and say the customer is always right, but this is the thing. There have been people on my channel from the Jay Slater case, maybe with a degenerative attention span. They can't stick around long enough, whether they've got ADHD or not, who knows, or they just come from TikTok. People complain and say your videos are too long, you talk too much. Here and there, I have done videos and I've taken it in mind and I've done shorter ones. So I took it on board, you could call it subconsciously, and made some shorter videos in between. But at the end of the day, those videos that were shorter, taking advice from others complaining in a neutral way, doing it all in the background, it didn't work out. Those videos did worse. I can upload a 20-minute video. People may watch 15, 10 minutes of it. Okay. I can upload a 6-minute video. Well, it's shorter. People should be able to watch it all the way through then, or a 2-minute video. And you only end up watching 1 to 2 minutes, and it could perform worse. So, whilst there is criticism or advice, when taking it on board and applying it, it doesn't always work out. But if it's coming from an experienced individual, it's definitely worth listening to. It's kind of like Frank exploring abandoned mines on unusual places. He's given some advice here and there, taking it on board, and some others too. Advice or criticism from other creators is somewhat welcome and can be helpful. They've got experience, they know what they're talking about, but when it comes to a default profile, talking a lot, but they can't back it up themselves, and they might have a bit of a tone to their voice, it's a bit problematic, isn't it? And they're the type of people that I've come across. But they're also the type of people, and those on behalf of them, that are claiming that you can't take criticism. It all comes down to how it's given in the first place, right? If it's done in a polite way, then the person responding back, the channel, should respond back in a polite way, and that's what I do. But if they're going to respond back in a rude, if they're going to talk in the first place in a rude way, I'll respond back and defend myself. Simple as that, and people take it the wrong way and misunderstand it. A one-sided, dense, tunnel vision mindset. That's unfortunate. Does Lolly demonstrate that? It appears so. Once again, another shortcoming. Very unfortunate. Lolly says, now you are making slanderous claims. How? You don't know me like that. I don't know who you are, but how you present yourself online with your attitude, it doesn't look too positive. This person, Lolly, likes using the line, it's not a good look, impetuous one. They're trying to imitate me. What Lolly is doing, whether she's got some kind of emotional or physical, psychological obsession with me, by mimicking me, this is a form of interactional synchrony. And normally this would occur at the age of a very young child, a baby, in which the caregiver or mother would be, caring for the baby, and they will respond and react accordingly in sync or near to sync, mimicking facial expressions or noises. But supposedly this individual is, I don't know what age they are, but you'd think of a slightly older age or so, and they're doing interactional synchrony with myself when it comes to language and wording. But they can't quite mimic me because of their other language, wording, and how they use it. So, yeah. Lolly says, mortal one. Mortal one is a valid observation. You are not invincible. At some point you will pass away, just like myself and many others out there. Mortal is the opposite to immortal. Immortal means you can never die. Mortal means you can die at any point in life, whether that be at your own hands or out of your own control by the environment or people around you, or maybe even an illness. Anything can happen, right? So by calling someone mortal one, it's a valid factual observation. Unless you're claiming that you're immortal, that would be interesting. Lolly says, your patter is hilarious. Also, you still haven't addressed my original comment. You just went on insulting me instead, which says a lot about your character. Insulting you or just simply defending myself and making observations along the way? It does differ. But if that's the case, well, what have you continued to do? You've continued on making false claims. Yeah, in parallel. What else is there? WarLike Wrath, you're still deleting my comments. I see, guess you'll blame the algorithm again instead of admitting that you messed up. Well, up to now, we've looked at a handful of comments, haven't we? And they're still public, so can't be that bad. And that's about it there. So, Lolly appears to be somewhat troubled. But let's try and make further sense of it right now, and I'll provide to you a bit more of a context and backstory. So the origins to how this all unfolded and how it leaked over, most unfortunately, to the Noah Presgrove case is from the Jay Slater case to begin with. And I did a video, I think some months ago, titled TikTok star has been harassed or threatened, feels like they're in danger, and they're out in Tenerife, but they can only be there for so long, and they're heading back to the UK because they fear for their life, right? And I just did a video looking at that article, making sense of it. And I made a comment in my video talking about the mental health bandwagon. And that was in correlation to not a fact, but an opinion, a suggestion, a theory that on the basis of that TikTok star that felt like they were in danger truly, were they really? Or were they exaggerating? Were they exaggerating with the mental health card of, oh, it's getting too much, I need to go, I need to cool off a bit and, take it all in, I need to, there's typical lines and stuff where people use the mental health card to excuse either their behavior or their reasoning ability, or they may use the mental health card on an outwards perspective, an outlook of something going on which isn't actually there or as bad as it actually is, right? I wasn't saying it was a fact, but that's what the TikTok star was doing. I was just trying to make sense of it. Could he really be in danger? And that's why he's leaving. Well, he must be doing the right thing then. If he feels like he needs to protect himself, he needs to get away, you do what you need to do. Fight or flight mechanics kick on in within the mind, right? You protect yourself, you do whatever you can. But was there a small chance or possibility that he was over-exaggerating it to make it look like he was really in danger? So it could be a form of getting a form of a fan base or a few extra supporting people, you know, where you might make yourself look a bit more vulnerable than what you actually are, or make it sound like you're actually in a worse position than what you actually are in, but it's done with intent. There's a bit of manipulation behind it, like a sob story in a way. I was looking at it from every single, or well, not maybe not every, but multiple different perspectives and angles. And as most of you will know, that's what I do. But the problem that comes with it is humans out there that don't listen in and have selective hearing will somehow think or assume that what's been said there is directly what I think and is a fact. Obviously not the case, but they don't listen. They don't use their hearing properly, so they misunderstand it. So when I briefly talked about the mental health bandwagon, Lolly ended up commenting about it and wasn't too happy or pleased about the situation, okay? Now, I can briefly explain to you what I mean by the mental health bandwagon, and then we can head on over to the comments by her, and there's a handful of them. So while she likes to claim that they're all being deleted, there's quite a few present, and we'll get to that, okay? So, from the age of 15 years old, right, back then, on my channel, I did a video talking about the mental health bandwagon. I was ahead of my time. And what it was, basically, is like a movement. The mental health bandwagon is similar to the Me Too movement. A handful of people that gathered together all of a sudden. And now a certain issue at hand or a topic is now important, is now popular, but the reality was there may have always been a problem in the past. It just didn't get the acknowledgement it should have, right? But oh, now it's popular. Now it's trending. And you know how things go when stuff trends. It attracts everyone and anyone, celebrities and audiences, to speak up, to open up. Sometimes it's genuine and true. Other times it's fake, it's false, it's exaggerated for their 15 minutes of fame, to excuse their behavior from the past, whatever. You would have seen it at times with certain celebrities, YouTubers, TikTok stars, influencers, whoever. They may mess up, they may do wrong, they may do bad, or something from the past catches up on them and it's brought to light. What do? They might do an apology video, they might get the little tears running down and say, I need to work on my mental health. I'm very depressed, very anxious, I've got anxiety, I need to take a step back, I need to learn and move forwards in a positive light. And it's like the same old dialogue. You're making yourself look vulnerable, you're saying that you got psychological issues, but do you really? Where's the actual proof of it? You can say that you got issues, but where's the actual documents, the papers, the medical report, whatever you want to call it, psychological report? Where is that? Okay? You've been diagnosed, but where's the proof of it? Some people diagnose themselves and assume that they've got ADHD, or they assume that they've got anxiety, but do they really have it? That's where the mental health bandwagon comes on in. Oh, now it's a trendy subject to talk about and to share experiences and stuff. And along the way, people could misdiagnose themselves, and others may do it intentionally, to appear more vulnerable, to get a level of support and gain favour out of it. And at times when people are compromised, got their backs up against the wall, celebrity or not, but more so celebrities and known individuals, public figures, if they're called out on something bad that they've done or said, recent or in the past, they'll throw in, I've got mental health issues. But, you know, even if you want to use mental health issues, whether it truly is there or not, you can't always be justifiable for the actions demonstrated. You've got to be held accountable. It's like with certain suicide bomb attacks or the recent knife crime with that individual that killed those 3 girls or injured others with knives, and people were throwing in the mental health card. Doesn't excuse that behavior and action, okay? Might have issues, but does it justify doing that or this to someone? No. So that's how like you can bend the rules with the bandwagon, with the awareness, if you're more likely to share your stories now, even if it's false or exaggerated or you're falsely diagnosing yourself, more people are likely to believe in you now than back then. Because way back then, if you had issues psychologically, you could be thrown aside or locked up just like that. You didn't have a chance to explain yourself, defend yourself, or make sense of the matter or let other people know. But nowadays, it's more open. People are more willing to listen. People are more softer nowadays. People can be more naive nowadays. So you tell a sob story, which may not be true. You may use the mental health card to excuse your behavior or actions to be treated more leniently due to how people see you. It's exploitive. There will always be humans out there that will suffer psychologically and in other ways as well, and especially the quiet ones. They don't make a big song or dance about it. Back then, people suffering, people now still suffering and beyond, but because it's been made cool, it's been made popular to share and to talk about mental health. It can be exploited, it can be overused, it can be used to gain favor, it can be used to be treated more leniently. Come on, it's pretty obvious. And why did I make links to the Me Too movement? When it comes to the Me Too movement, sexual harassment, sexual assault, the R word, being touched, consent situation, the problems there, right? There will always be problems like that which have existed in the past and still apply now and probably in the future, and it will probably never go away. There'll always be problems, and there will be humans out there, whether it be a woman or a man, in general, male or female, that could be assaulted, abused, whatever, okay? Do they fall into the Me Too category? Well, it depends if people put themselves out there and make a big song and dance about it. Some people keep quiet and suffer in silence, which is unfortunate, and others will try and seek justice, but maybe on a smaller scale. The Me Too movement was just like another platform set up in which like certain waves of celebrities, high-profile people that may have been treated inappropriately in the past by a male end up speaking out. And at times, maybe it's true, and there are genuine cases, so you acknowledge it. But then there's other times where it can become very toxic, it can be abused, it can be overused and exploited. You know, depending on what position you're in, you could say and scream, rape, rape, sexual harassment, and people could believe in it more now because it's more acceptable in terms of understanding these issues and problems, and it's more popular nowadays. But when it's more open and it can be talked about more, it also means there's more leniency where it can be bent, exploited, and twisted. Come on. There's been cases out there where females have made false rape allegations of a male, and it's destroyed the male's life. There's been men out there that have been falsely accused of this and that by a female, and it's led to them losing their job or people turning on them, being attacked. And then in the end, it turned out that the claims made were false allegations and it was all slanderous. But what that male was put through was extreme. All that damage done, all the damage done, couldn't be fixed beyond that. And some people have ended up taking their own lives. So whilst, yes, you can talk about inequalities and double standards at times, on some occasions, females do have extensive power with their words and what they can say. They can claim this and that, which may not be true. They can label a male for being a rapist, paedophile, or whatever, and people could believe in it. And then it destroys that person's life. So just these little snippets of what I'm getting at. So you might have a genuine problem and issue. Then comes awareness and a movement, a scheme to spread awareness about the problem and the situation. And everybody gets all together and shares their experiences and thoughts. But that's what then enables the opportunity for a handful of people to come on in with fake claims, fake statements, false allegations, fake sub-stories and all of this. And then it discredits the real people that are suffering. So all the females out there that, spread false rape allegations, when it comes to the other females out there that have experienced that and been harmed, when they put their story across, by then they're probably going to be denied and not believed in because of the previous females that faked it and made all these false claims. So they're not doing good to their, to the other people, are they? Right? It gives like a bad look. It's like when it comes to like maybe in the UK, when it comes to certain situations of, stalking or intimidating behavior or sexual assault. and it's like nighttime, or there might be a female walking home from somewhere, whatever age, and then there could be a creepy male or an intimidating man that decides to do something to the woman, or whatever. It could lead to death or whatnot, and you've seen it in the news, haven't you? But are the majority of men doing that to the opposite gender? No, but a handful are. There might be the minority, but a certain portion, let's just say a certain portion, but then it gives a bad look for the rest of men out there. So like when it comes to females in a gym, a person could be doing weights, exercising, filming themselves with a camera and a tripod. And then some male walks past and glances in that direction, then that woman ends up posting a video on TikTok saying, that person's a gym creep. They stared at me. They looked in my direction. How dare they do that? Take in mind, it is a public space, and people can glance about. They're not staring. They're just looking around as a normal person would do. But something is turned into something that it's not. But then people believe in it and believe in the female and feel sorry for her, and then have a go at that guy who's completely innocent and unaware of that situation going on. But it's come a time, more so now, where some females have been in a gym of whatever age, might have been doing a squat or an exercise, and then they've got stuck, or they can't push the weight up or move it away, and they need help. They're asking for help, and there's males about who won't help. You know why? Because they don't trust that person. Even if they are innocent, on the basis of that, they could be innocent, the guys don't want to help because they don't want to be falsely accused of something that they're not. Right? So it can create trust issues. It can paint a bad picture of an overall or generalization of a certain group of individuals, right? So when it comes to false claims, false allegations about SA and, inappropriately touching and all of that, false claims made by certain females out there then discredits all the genuine females that have had issues and problems, because then they're not believed in because of the other original set of people that have made false claims. So it paints a negative picture of everyone, then it creates all kinds of trust issues. It's as simple as that, and it applies to the mental health bandwagon. Oh, it's suddenly cool and important to talk about the issue now, but what about back then? And also, as of now and the last few years, hasn't there been a handful of people that have exploited it to excuse their behavior, their actions in a manipulative way, whether they actually have issues or not? I've seen it myself. Believe me, in real life and online, I have extensively seen the depths of how people will exploit mental health. And at a time of when it's an all-time high, supposedly, and it's very popular to talk about and trending, it's going to spread more, and more people are going to do it, and there's chances that more people are going to believe in it. I'm not naive like that. I can see through the BS, and that's why I highlight it in my videos, briefly, as of recently in that TikTok video, but I've also highlighted it at the age of 15 years old, way back then on my channel. I've got experience. I've talked about it before, I talk about it again. But when it came to Lolly, they didn't quite understand or comprehend the situation at hand and got a bit triggered by it. Let's just see their response right now. So here it was, 3 weeks ago. Lolly responded saying, the mental health bandwagon? It's not a bandwagon. It's a serious medical disorder that ruins lives. What a load of absolute waffle. Well, this is the thing. When it comes to mental health, and to be honest, I don't even like using that wording, psychological issues. It's more formal, because if you think of the term mental, at times when people are called mental, it's seen as an insult. So I'm surprised you're even using that language in concordance to it. But anyway, yes, the mental health bandwagon in general, the awareness, the group, okay, the platform, like the Me Too movement, where it's suddenly become popular to talk about, but it becomes exploited as well. That's the bandwagon. I'm fully aware that there are humans out there that have psychological issues throughout time, okay, and they don't choose to have it either. And especially the quiet ones that don't make a big fuss about it. They're some of the most genuine people out there who may have, if they supposedly do, have psychological issues. What about the really gobby, loudmouth ones that want to act all quirky and trendy and talk and use it as a form of what? As like a badge of honour or some kind of way to exploit, to get themselves up to the top, work their way up, things like that. But, you know, I guess Lolly didn't understand where I was coming from. So I guess there was a misunderstanding. But from that sparked a wave of triggered behaviour. Now, my response it was pretty brief. I said by the empty channel with zero contribution to the case. And what I was getting at there was what Lolly was referring to. She wouldn't know the mindset of that TikTok star. And what I was providing my video was different perspectives and possibilities. Okay? With a brief mention of the bandwagon and how it can be used. Not my fault if Lolly isn't on the same wavelength as me. Now, if Lolly looked at maybe my older videos, then they would have a better understanding. But, you know, they'll probably watch this and they should get a better understanding. But then again, after what's been said, they're just going to be very selective in what they listen to and look at. But, you know, there are bandwagons out there. Oh, it's suddenly become popular, it's overhyped, and everybody jumps aboard of it now. It's a bandwagon. Because not everybody who associates with something actually experiences it themselves or has the same issues or has them to begin with. But it's just completely ignored. Anyway, Lolly says 2 weeks ago, you went to the trouble of looking up my channel, which is private for that reason. No, your channel is not private. That's a fact. Everyone's channel is publicly viewable. The content of the channel, on the other hand, that is private. And as I said, your channel is empty. And well, why is it empty? Because there's no videos there. And if you do have private videos, well, they're not going to be shown publicly. So what I'm looking at is what's publicly viewable, like what anyone else can do. And yet Lolly is claiming that I've been looking up their channel, which is private. It's not private. Lolly says, people like you. Ooh, that's a very interesting line, because when people normally use that line, people like you, your kind, sounds kind of racist. But don't worry, Lolly, I'm not going to play the race card, as others would. But you need to be very careful with your language and wording, Lolly, on very thin ice. But anyway, Lolly says, I'm not on here clout chasing. Why are we suddenly talking about clout all of a sudden? Shows your lack of maturity. Also, what exactly did you do to contribute to the case? Well, contributing to the case by making sense of it, teaching my audience about a new case, learning about it as one goes along, spreading awareness of the possibilities that there's a level of greed within the case and the family at hand, and the resistance behind the case, and how by pushing people away, even if you don't like them, it can harm the case. There was a lot of awareness there, but, you know, you've not acknowledged it. So once again, selective mindset. Now, I've dealt with these humans before. Back in the Dylan Rounds case, certain individuals saying, what has Wrath really done? He's not really done anything. He's not really done much. Is that so? Maybe based off your mindset, but have you actually looked at my videos? Have you actually looked at the wording and language, okay, and the awareness and the aim behind it and the understanding too? If you haven't, well then you're not going to know. And if you choose to ignore that, but then that's on you then, okay? But yeah, in terms of your channel, Lolly, you have provided no contribution to the case, at least publicly. In terms of your comments, you've provided no positive contribution either. You're not in a position to be speaking, okay? But still, you have freedom of speech, as we see here. But you do exploit and abuse freedom of speech by claiming, you know what? People like you are the problem. People like me? What's that supposed to imply? My skin colour? My race? Interesting. Digging themselves into a bit of a hole. Anyway, Lolly says, why delete my comments? I don't, honestly. Must have hit a nerve. My comment is about your stance on mental health, but I'm talking about the movement in general. I never said anything about the case. I don't know why you're coming at me like this, but since you are, what exactly were your contributions to the case? Well, I've already explained moments before in the situation. What's this? You actually went looking for my channel because I don't agree with something you said. No, I went to your channel to see if what you were referring to you can back up with your own knowledge experience, and you are clearly lacking it within the public eye of what the general public have access to. Okay? In terms of how it was worded by you, the mental health situation, the bandwagon, the concept behind it, the design of it, and I've explained it myself on my channel, I guess there's been a bit of a disconnect. And I was applying it within the Jay Slater case. You may not have been, but still, I just wanted to check your channel to see if there's a correlation to the Jay Slater case and your knowledge of it. And because it's lacking, or it's not exactly visibly public, it's unfortunately limited. Nevertheless, what else do we have there? That's strange. My channel is not empty. It's private because of weirdos like you. So this is starting to sound like the Me Too movement. Lolly, possible female, accusing WarLike Wrath for being a creep. As I said, females can have all the power in the world when it comes to making claims and statements about men. You see how it goes. False rape allegations, false sexual assault claims, it can destroy the lives of males of all ages. And Lolly is coming across as that type of individual with their claims, their wording and language without any evidence or proof. It's deeply concerning, I'll be honest with you, okay? But what else? What contributions exactly have you made to the case? Why do you keep asking that? I've explained. Also, my original comment wasn't about the... Okay. It's very repetitive, isn't it? What were your contributions? What were your contributions? As if they've assumed that the comments were deleted, so they kept reposting it over and over again. Interesting. The fact that you're ignoring me now speaks volumes about your lack of maturity. Also, this ain't the 1400s. Why are you talking like that? Now, I'll be honest with you. Is the 18th century the 1400s? I don't think so. I'm not the best on history, I'll be honest with you, but we're going from 1400s to 18th century. Where are we going to now? The prehistoric times or so? You know, start accusing me of being an ape, a gorilla, a monkey, and say, you're kind? Whoa, going in the deep end there, aren't we? Anyway, last but not least, Lolly says, you never even read my comment before you started projecting your own shit onto me. I was talking about the serious medical disorders that you totally dismissed. I hadn't said anything about the case. Your comment doesn't make sense. Oh, but your slanderous claims do make sense of them being deleted and stalking you. You've got no proof of that. How pathetic. Now, let me respond. So, in all honesty, I'm going to try and be as lenient as possible despite how they've treated me as a content creator. But I'm going to share my response right now. So with supposedly Lolly specifically talking about mental health issues and people that suffer from them and have those issues, whether it be right now, in the past, onwards in the future, yes, I'm in full agreement that there are humans out there that genuinely do have psychological issues. It's very unfortunate. It's messed up. And unfortunately, people are in that way. Okay? So I do believe that mental health, psychological issues do exist. Okay? I've seen it myself within humans all around. But what I'm specifically referring to is the bandwagon movement. I'm not saying that no one has issues. What I'm saying is that within these issues, people jump aboard onto it and have claimed that they've got issues as well when they don't, or they don't have proof of it, or they just falsely misdiagnosed to appear all quirky and in with everyone else, but they don't know what it's like. They've not been through it themselves. And then some humans that may have issues or may not, that could exploit or twist the situation and use the mental health card to excuse their behavior instead of taking full accountability. That's what I was getting at. The movement behind it, the trend of it becoming popular, just like the Me Too movement, okay? But clearly, Lolly didn't see it that way, and maybe I didn't explain it clearly at the time. So apologies about that. But in terms of their ongoing conquest to spread the word of this and that about stalking and deleting comments, etc. False claims being made with no evidence behind it is unnecessary. And to do it for over weeks is very unnecessary. To implement it in a completely different case that I get involved with is unnecessary, okay? Slanderous claims can have damaging effects on people out there on the receiving end of it, okay? So language and wording goes a long way. They do lack in certain areas. The theme of this was a misunderstanding, which then led to disagreements, conflict, and expanded from there. But in fairness, for Lolly to say that, oh, it must have hit a nerve, no. I think what's actually happened is it's hit a nerve within them, subconsciously, maybe. A defense mechanism within their mind has sparked off for them to respond back the way they did in the tone of voice too. Erratic thinking, jumping the gun, impetuous, egocentric, one-dimensional, dense mindset with false allegations and claims made along the way, claiming it's the truth with absolutely no hard evidence behind to support it in a very reckless way and spreading it about as much as possible. All very unnecessary. A form of interactional synchrony to try and mimic me, and also statements made by falsely claiming me as being a weirdo and saying that your type, you lot, is very unfortunate. And it can be very damaging, especially when the words come from the opposite gender's mouth. But, you know, everyone and anyone can share their thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. But because this has come, the problem, from a different case, and it's leaked over to here. I didn't ask for it in terms of it leaking over here. If there was a problem, it should have remained in like the where it was from, but no, it's leaked over and it's now harming this case, or it's at least harming my channel, which can have a negative impact of the case or how people and their outlooks of it. That isn't exactly necessary, but it's happened, so I've had to defend myself to spread awareness. Because it wasn't that long ago, you had that person called Happy Shack that was accusing me of hacking people's phones and this and that. And, you know, in fairness, it's not a good look, is it, when it comes to it being thrown my way? It's very unfortunate, but I do document everything that comes along with it, the positives and negatives. So, yeah, I could be falsely accused of many, many, many things in life, and it doesn't make the situation look too good, does it? But I'm still going to cover it publicly, so people can witness it themselves and they can make their own ideas and minds and judgments based off experience as well at the end of the day. Because there's a handful of witnesses that have watched my videos throughout time and, you know, naturally and whatnot, long viewers, regular viewers, whatever, you can leave your thoughts down below. I try to explain as much as possible and try and be specific and clear. You could argue and say on this one occasion that line used in response to Lolly wasn't clear enough. So when I talked about the mental health bandwagon and that they've got zero contribution on their channel to be maybe talking about it or applying it to the case, either way, what I should have said was, yes, the mental health bandwagon movement, there are genuine people out there that do have issues, and those issues do exist out there. But there's a handful of humans out there that will exploit it, abuse it to benefit from it. And those that may not have issues, but they jump in on it and assume that they're a part of it when they're not. So once again, apologies about the lack of clarity there towards Lolly. But that still does not give her or them the right to be acting the way they did afterwards with their false claims and their tone and language of voice. So yes, I'm still disappointed within them. Their repetitiveness kind of bores me by now, because I do have more pressing matters at hand, which is covering cases. It just so happens that this situation ties in with, you know, another case. And we don't need it to expand or escalate any further, because what good does it do? But I'll be honest with you, if Lolly spent the same time as she does obsessing about me and my channel, if she actually applied that to cases, could be actually getting somewhere, right, in spreading awareness and doing something and contributing. Because what have they contributed besides complaining and whining about me and causing disruption in cases? Because honestly, at the end of the day, their tone of voice, their behavior, their mindset, what would Jay Slater honestly think about this person called Lolly? What would Noah Presgrove, a 19-year-old male that was brutally beaten possibly to death and left on the side of a highway, what would Noah Presgrove and Jay Slater think about this person called Lolly and how they behaved? They'd be absolutely appalled and disappointed, because Lolly is making it more about herself and her comments and her triggered nature rather than the actual case at hand. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. Then what I have to do when serious claims are made, I've got to take some time out to respond to it, to set the record straight, so there's nothing escalating or anything like that. But certain times like this, in taking time out to address this, because it's very important in terms of my role, my position as a content creator. I'm not just a viewer, I am a creator. I do have an audience. Do I have a reputation? I don't know, but still, it's always nice to address things and to make it clear, just so there's no misunderstandings, or any more, at least. But by doing that, it does sometimes slow down coverage. Now, yes, if there's no issues afterwards, I can still cover a video after about this case of Noah Presgrove, of course. But still, the act of having to do this because it is necessary, I know people will say it's not, but most people that say it's not important or it's not needed, they're not a creator. And no offense, you're not in the same position. You're not going to understand the implications behind it, okay? In all fairness. But to take time out to have to do this, what Lolly has done, directly or indirectly, has slowed down the progress in cases of missing people, or more so, true crime cases. Shame on them. Okay? They're a bit of a disappointment when it comes to these communities and cases. That's what should matter most, but no, it's about them. I'm just simply defending myself like I always have done and always will do. At the end of the day, their behaviour was unnecessary, and how they reached out to a completely different case and community was crossing the line, hence why this video was necessary. Okay? Will they watch this video? I don't know. But it's a one and done video. And that's all. That's all that needs to be said. Because I just wanted to make sure that the people from the Noah Presgrove case know the situation and know about elsewhere. Just like the Dylan Rounds case and the people that came from there onto this case. I detest cancer. Okay? I detest reoccurring hypocrites as well in double standard situations. So, just thought, spread awareness. You can make your own thoughts and your own points and responses. And that's pretty much it. So I appreciate your patience. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. And next time will be a focused video contributing to the case, unlike some.